She's now hunting for the ducks. She saw them fly away, but she's hunting for them because the scent's really strong around here, because that's where they were. That's exactly where they were. I didn't turn the camera on quick enough, but that's exactly where they were. In that corner of this little pond. So she keeps tasting the water. You're out of luck, they've gone. She's confused. Not so easily. A scent dog can get confused. Then again, a missing person isn't just going to fly away, are they? Tasting the water, look. And you're filthy. Great. Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. Today marks 10 months since Summer Wells disappeared. In the words of Lesley Earhart from the TBI on the 16th of June.
She was last seen outside of her home in the 100 block of Ben Hill Road, which is located in the Beach Creek community of Hawkins County. A family member reported her missing to the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office at approximately 6:30 Tuesday evening.
She was last seen outside of her home in the 100 block of Ben Hill Road, in the Beach Creek community of Hawkins County. 10 months. In this video, let's deep dive at the beginning there, where you saw Cassie hunting for ducks. That's relevant, I'll let that play out. And I'll come back to it. There's a little bit of wind, but once I get down in the hollow down there, it won't be too bad. So if there's a little bit of wind, bear with it. In this video, I'm not going to go into the timeline because I've got so many videos now on the timeline, the discrepancies in the timeline. I'm going to stick to what we know, what we think we know. So I'll touch on the main theories. Last week, Detective John Pruitt, the lead investigator from Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, I think broke hearts when he did his very first press interview with Ansley Daniel from WJHL. Sidebar, she's been on the case for 10 whole months. Good on Ansley and the other members of the WJHL team, working hard for Summer Wells.
As Summer's disappearance approaches the 10-month mark, the scenarios of what happened the night of June 15th continue to grow.
Is that still the main belief, is that she could have wandered off? There's been no evidence of anything else?
So Detective John Pruitt said,
it is a possibility.
You know, they've looked at lots of evidence, GPS, cell data, lots of evidence, and they're not much further forward than they were 10 months ago.
We have gone through reams and reams of data. We've collected statements. We've chased down every credible lead that has been given to us. Surveillance videos, GPS locations, cell phone tracking, cell phone data, electronic data, anything that we could think of to get our hands on. Just trying to find a specific direction to go in. Nothing has narrowed that down, and we are still not much further along than when we started. So everything, as the sheriff has said, is still on the table.
Absolutely heartbreaking. And you could see the exhaustion, you could see the frustration. I certainly could anyway, I could sense it in his voice. And for those guys working that case day in, day out, you know, being bombarded with fantastical tips from the public, just the reams of information that they've got to sift through for credibility. you know, first and foremost. To say they're not much further forward doesn't mean to say that they've got nothing. Now, as loads of you have pointed out, as I know full well, law enforcement are allowed to lie. They're allowed to lie to suspects, they're allowed to lie to the public. If it maintains the integrity of the investigation, then there's a method in that. There'll be things that he's not told us, there'll be things that he's omitted, there'll be lines and leads and things that they're not ready to talk about. I don't think he was lying, even if he's not telling the complete truth, as in there's things he's admitted. I think the things he did say were truthful. So are we really not much further forward? Let us differentiate between the police investigation and what we know, what we've witnessed, what we've seen on social media over the last 10 months, because the two things are completely different beasts. This is going to be a circumstantial case. It's horrible to think about. It's dreadful. It's heartbreaking to think about. But after 10 months, a 5-year-old girl, the chances are she is deceased. The chances are when search parties go out, they're looking for evidence. They're looking for maybe an item of clothing or something to say that Summer was there. You know, the searches are focused around specific areas. They've been very focused, which tells me something, but it's not the whole story. Guys, look, this is brutal, but after 10 months, if Summer's body has been out there somewhere, either buried in a grave or hidden in a cave or is just out there in the open, I'm sorry guys, there's not going to be very much left. There's not. So unless the circumstances of her death left an imprint on her bones, see where I'm going? You know, the 6 months update that the TBI did 4 months ago now, she said that there's a very real possibility that she just wandered away and got lost in the mountainous terrain near her home. Detective John Pruitt doubled down on that and said,
The wandering away, sneaking off to go play or whatever she may have done, that is a viable option. People are probably tired of hearing this. All possibilities are on the table. We're not completely eliminating the abduction idea. There's nothing to lead us to believe that we need to focus on that alone.
If they do find her body, and I think that's why they do periodically keep going out. She was tiny in life. How tiny is she going to be now? I'm sorry guys, I've got to go there. I have got to go there. But unless there's evidence on those bones of catastrophic injury, you know, like she fell, she broke her pelvis, she broke her neck, that would be seen on her bones. Or if there was sign of foul play, like the hyoid bone in the neck being broken, sign of strangulation, or blunt force trauma to her skull, things like that. A gunshot wound that pierced the bone. Those kind of things can be picked up. But with no soft tissue, there's no way to take anything else from it. I always refer back to other cases, you know, other similar cases when I do these kind of videos. The vast majority of missing people are recovered, either alive or not. Those that are found alive, it's usually within the first few hours. 3 hours goes by and the chance of recovering that person alive drops massively. Within 24 hours, the chances of recovering a child alive are tiny. I think you're down to about 10% chance, something like that. After 10 months, you're essentially looking at a miracle. But cases have happened. You know, Elizabeth Smart, there's a number of others. But they're few and far between. Few and far between. And when you get 10 months down the line, you've got to keep it in your mind that they may never be found. 6-year-old Dennis Martin, who disappeared literally from under his father's nose, playing a game, you know, just wandering around a corner and he's going to jump out on his dad. Just playing a game while on vacation in the Great Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. 1969, and 6-year-old Dennis Martin has never been recovered. They missed evidence, they did. I talked about this the other day, but I have got a video where I went into this in detail as one of my episodes on Crime Stories Sunday. Go and check that out over on Michelle Walks, my other channel. Little 6-year-old. If mistakes are made in the initial searches, in those first hours into days, the evidence is gone. And Dennis is still out there somewhere. It's a whole lifetime for Dennis, isn't it? 1969, 53 years ago. Dennis was 6. Would have been almost 60 years old, Dennis. It's Dennis's whole lifetime has passed. That just puts it in perspective. So there's always that chance that a body will never reveal itself, be lost to the elements forever. But it brings it home just how easily a little child can disappear where there's no crime been committed. Little child can just disappear and he's just swallowed up by the vastness of this spinning rock. But search technology has improved over the last 53 years. You know, they have technologies now that can sit on helicopters and drones they didn't have back in 1969. But the chances of making a mistake in a ground search are always possible. You know, I did a video the other day including some footage of Cassie, just talking about some of the mistakes that search dogs can make. And I'm not laying off, you know, that if a mistake was made, it's on the search dogs. I'm not saying that, but search dogs form a big part of a ground search. A big part, because a dog's sense of smell is way, way better than ours. They can scent out just mere particles of the death scent. A well-trained cadaver dog. Those death scents can be underground. They can be from a body that was laid there and then moved. And there's some particles just left there. Live scent dogs can track individuals for miles if they get a good scent. But the reason why I did the video the other day showing Cassie searching for a cat and then losing the scent, well, it's a similar situation this morning with those ducks. Those ducks flew away. She chased them. She knew they'd gone. She chased them away and then came back because she'd lost them. But then once she got back to the pond where they'd been sitting, I just hadn't turned on the camera quickly enough. You know, the ducks were actually there. Cassie was over the other side of the field. And the ducks saw me and flew, and then she noticed them and she chased them. But once she got back to the pond, she fixated on that part of the pond where they'd been sitting because that was the strongest scent. So she'd seen them fly away. She knew they were no longer there, but that scent takes over. That's how good a dog is. They can scent in water. They actually taste the water. They take little sips almost of the water, and they're not drinking, they're tasting it. And Cassie isn't trained, it's just her breed. She's a Springer Spaniel, and they're excellent ground centres. They're used a lot in the UK for drug detection, things like that. And they've got a massive amount of stamina, so, you know, they can go all day. And they just stay focused. You know, she's a big doofus. She's a big doofus. She has a sniff around. She just wanders about, does her own thing. Cassie is just focused. She's working this terrain all the time. Look at her. Oops, person. Tilly. It's one of her friends. She just gets silly. Come on, Tilly, this way. Come here. Come here. Tilly. Here, please. And go. Stay, we'll let them go. Actually, we'll go back this way. Cass, this way. The equivalent of flying off does happen in missing persons cases. Because if a scent suddenly disappears because a person was put into a vehicle, it's the same thing to a dog, isn't it? That they've just gone. But they'll still go back to the strongest scent. But it doesn't help us, does it? Because that person or that duck is no longer there. It doesn't help us. It doesn't take us further forward. So I'm sure that will have been numerous search hits. Because some live there. The cadaver dogs, which is important, you know, to take cadaver dogs. And they have all over every inch of that 11-acre property. That's the important thing, to find out if some died there. You know, if there'd been a tragic accident that had been covered up. That kind of theory scenario. But live scent, well, summer was all over that property. Those dogs would struggle to find a really strong scent, which is why I don't really set much store in a scent dog. As Sheriff Lenny Lawson has said, a scent dog followed her down a trail. So what? It's just a scent that's lingered, maybe pooled. Maybe Summer was there on that trail on that day. Maybe she went out playing. The scent alerts, I think, is one of the reasons why the wandering away theory is still very much on the cards for the TBI. Because in the absence of anything else, what do they have to work from? So from the law enforcement perspective, if the digital evidence hasn't revealed anything unusual, that the parents are where they said they were at certain times, no unusual activity on social media or on phone records, cell tower dumps haven't revealed anything terribly unusual, how can they pin anything on the parents if their electronic data says they were where they said they were? When it gets 10 months, a year down the line, they know that even if they find the body, yes, it lays that person to rest. It's a sense of closure for people who love that person, for communities. It's a sense of closure. But forensically, unless, as I said, there's direct signs on bones, that body's forensically not very important in terms of the investigation. They want to recover the body because there's always that chance that the bone will reveal evidence of a crime or an accident. The focus becomes on the desk operation, on collecting other types of forensic data like digital evidence. But if that digital evidence doesn't reveal too much, then what are they left with? they're left with a circumstantial case. Let's put this on the table. Even if digital evidence is there, lots of it. Let's take the Barry Morphew case, for example. You know, they've got his GPS system. They know where he stopped, how long he stopped, when his doors opened, when he turned off the system, when he turned off put his phone in airplane mode. They've got him banged to rights, you would think. Because Suzanne Morphew has never been discovered. Her body has never been discovered. There's no signs of life in Suzanne's case because she was an adult. So Suzanne herself would have had a digital footprint. Phone, bank, things that adults use. We can presume that Suzanne's dead. But how did she die? With the massive amount of evidence that the prosecution has gathered over a year against Barry, you'd think, yeah, he's banged to rights. But remember that a jury needs to convict beyond a reasonable doubt. And if there's a tiny doubt at all, you know, just one step taken wrong by the prosecutors, that jury won't convict. And that case will go unsolved. And the probable killer will be set free. Cassie Anthony. Those jurors knew she was guilty. But the prosecution didn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt, unfortunately. So when you've got people like Detective John Pruitt, frustrated, exhausted, after 10 months, they want a resolution. They've seen what we see. They see what we've seen. They watch social media. They do. Loads of videos, clips, phone calls between Don, Candice and various YouTubers or various people that have befriended Don and Candice over the last few months. All of that has gone into the mix. A circumstantial case has got to be watertight for a jury to convict. I mean, it's important. It's important that a jury only convict when the evidence is there beyond a reasonable doubt. Because we don't want any miscarriages of justice, do we? We don't want innocent people going down for murder. We don't. They're not going to take a case forward where there's no body, there's no proof of life in a child as young as 5. It's even more difficult to prove that there's no proof of life because little 5-year-olds don't have their own digital footprint. But even if a body is recovered, now, how helpful would that be to the case? We have to ask that question. So this is a circumstantial case. If we want justice, we've got to be patient because that circumstantial evidence could be very strong, right? There's some circumstantial evidence that's in every which way as strong as forensic evidence. Like after 10 months down the line, we've seen for months Don Wells behaving in a drunken, abusive fashion. We now see Candice Bly lying. She can't keep a story straight from one sentence to another, let alone one day to another. Law enforcement sees what we see. They see them lie. They see the discrepancies. They see them. They probably sit there incredulous when they watch some of this stuff, as we do. But is that strong enough evidence to take somebody down? No. No, it proves nothing. It proves nothing other than Candice can't keep a story straight. But there's a multitude of reasons why she can't. A defence might bring in learning disability, they might bring in mental health, addiction, they might bring in a whole sob story, they might bring in a very real story of domestic abuse. Don could stand in the dock there and be very, very believable. Look how Don can turn it on. I said yesterday, there's two Don Wells. There's the God-fearing, church-going, kind of southern drawl, kind of makes people feel sorry for him. That's the side that he took to the behaviour panel and to Dr. Phil. But there's the other side of him that we've seen, the drunken, abusive. I've got 7 alibis. I'm a good buddy Starling. Candice ain't got none, she's going down. You know, that version. And I'm sure that we've only seen a fraction of that real side of Don Wells. Don Wells has a whole secret life that I'm sure the TBI have dug into. But if Don Wells is guilty and he's covered his tracks, what do they have on him? What do they have? And people say these, you know, they're just hillbillies, they're too dumb to pull off a perfect crime. Yeah, maybe. Candice, I think, on her own, no, I don't think she could have. I don't think she could have taken Summer's body and buried her or hidden her in a place that has not been discovered. But I think Don's sly enough. I do. But if that digital footprint doesn't reveal that story, what do law enforcement have? What do they have? Law enforcement will be following up leads behind the scenes that we don't know about. But there's a few things that they've never wavered on that I think we can take as fact because the TBI have never wavered. One is that whatever happened to Summer happened on the 15th of June. They've never wavered from that timeline. There are cases where the timeline changes. In the Cody Bigsby case, what is going on there, you guys? Sidebar, what is going on with Corey Bigsby? Hampton judges are refusing to take the case. Now his attorney refuses to take the case. What's his name? Jeffrey Ambrose? Ditched Corey, what? For ethical reasons. What's going on there, guys? But Hampton Police very quickly changed the timeline and said they're looking for sightings of Cody from November. He was reported missing on 31st of January, I think, if I remember rightly. But they want the timeline back to November. Classic and Sincere's case, or in an Awesome West. You know, once Trezell and Jacqueline West were arrested, it came out that they believe that Classic and Sincere had been deceased since September. They were reported missing, what was it, the 20th, 21st of December. They believe that they were no longer alive from September. So is it going to be the same for Summer Wells? Are we going to wake up one morning and arrests are made? Whether that's Don and Candice and possibly Grandma, or whether it's going to be somebody else connected to the case, or even, complete curveball, a person that we did not expect. Law enforcement have said there's no evidence of an abduction. There's no evidence that she was trafficked out of the area. What evidence do you need of an abduction? Because a perfect abduction leaves no trace. You know, 1 minute you're there, next minute you're gone. Nobody sees you. Nobody sees you in a very rural area. That's a possibility. And a search dog can't track you. There's no clothes left, nothing. No digital footprint left, nothing. The absence of evidence doesn't mean to say that it didn't happen. Did it happen? Don't know. We don't know. Not in the way that the parents say. I'm pretty sure about that. I'm 99.999999999% sure. It didn't happen in the way the parents said. This just seems so unlikely. And there's been so many lies surrounding that timeline. Can't believe a word the parents say. I always, held out hope that when the digital evidence came back, the cell data, the GPS, that somebody would have made a mistake, whether that's Don, Candice, or someone else. That they made a mistake that law enforcement could latch onto. But that's not happened. But it doesn't mean to say that it will never happen. Law enforcement are human, just like you and me. Those investigators have trawled through data that we can only imagine. They've gone down rabbit holes that we can only imagine. They've interviewed people, probably that we've never heard of. And they, like us, will have fallen in love with Summer Wells. They're human beings. Dog over there, Tilly. They're human beings. How many thousands of people are following Summer Wells and have fallen in love with that little girl? Those investigators are no different than us. They want to see justice for Summer Wells. I don't believe they'll stop. I don't believe they'll stop. There does come a time when sometimes a case just goes cold, where there's no new leads, there's nothing. That's not close to being the case in Summer's case, because the parents are talking. While the parents are talking, because I think law enforcement, like us, I think are hoping that there'll be a confession, that there'll be... It's okay. Tilly, shut up. Cassie, come here. Did you get jumped on? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, it wasn't scary. They're hoping, aren't they, like us, for a confession. They're hoping that they'll slip. There's already been slips. Candice's timeline slips are hilarious. If it wasn't so tragic, they'd be hilarious. But it's not enough. It's not enough on its own. But a confession, even partial confession, is enough to get that person in, interrogate them. Interrogate the SHIT out of them. We all want to know what happened to her. We all want her brought home. But we want whoever did whatever they did to Summer to face justice. I don't believe she just wandered away. I think she went to play. She could have easily gone to play. But she'd have been found. If there wasn't foul play, I'm sure she would have been found by now. The amount of technology. Dennis Martin was never found. 53 years later, he's still never been found. I hope to goodness mistakes weren't made in Summer's case. But I think they went back again and again and again. And I think if she'd have gone off, if those scent alerts that were found, were really focused on, I think if she'd just wandered off and that's all there was to it, I think they'd have found her. I think we'd have had a solution. So we all see the same thing, guys, including the investigators. Let's wish them well. Let's hope that Summer is alive, that Summer bucks that dreadful trend. We've always got to hold out hope. But realistically, what we're looking for is justice. And justice takes time. So this has been a really long one. So for those few of you who've got to the end of this ramble, I hope you found it useful. Hope you found it thought-provoking. That is what I try to do in my videos. Especially these rambling videos where I'm just working through my own thoughts. I hope you find it useful too. So I'll say goodbye for now. It's goodbye from Miss Cassie Springer, the scent dog demonstrator, and Miss Tillington, who's a doofus. But she's a cute doofus. You're a cute doofus, aren't you? Yes. Yes, you are. Good girl. Bye, guys.